Welcome everybody, hope we're all okay out there. Here we are again with another SGH Sporting Events chat for another hour. Just to pass a little bit of time and have a quick chit chat with some more stars, really. More, what else can we say? First things first, we've just got to thank our Simply videos for looking after us with our format. As always, they've been brilliant back there. Got to thank our sponsor today, which is a great company in Leeds. It's my own company in Leeds. It's called Revive, who do IV therapy and things. Hopefully, we'll be back up running nice and quickly as well. I know my doctors and nurses are desperate to get back to work. As always, we've got to thank Muffy for the Sergio Garcia flag, which is the main thing which we're auctioning off. Really, well, not auctioning off. You can buy a £10 ticket for it. All goes towards the Just Giving page and goes to the NHS. Every single penny will be going to the NHS. So it's a signed Sergio Garcia flag from 2017 when he won the Masters, and it's all framed, ready to go, signed by himself, which is a fantastic prize for somebody out there. And as I say, it's £10. You can go to our page itself, and on the bottom there's a link, and it will be able to send you straight there. It's a tenner per ticket. As always, don't forget to share today's little post which we're doing our hour. Get on there, like our page as well, which is the SGH Sporting Events page, and you'll get a nice little reminder every time we're on. And we've got some great guests as always on today. We've got our usuals. We've got David Lynn. Lynn, how's things?
Yeah, good, thanks, yeah.
Good. KC Communications looking after you now, are they? Are we up and running with it?
So far, so good. I wouldn't tempt it.
We won't tempt it. They might be listening and cut you off at any point, as we've had a few problems over there. And Hurdy, how's things?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, I'd spoken to KC Communications. It was something to do with the Johnson Vaughan he'd been watching. That's why they'd switched it off, Linny.
There is too much of it going on in the background.
Have you switched your heating off as well?
Yeah, look at me. I've got window wide open. It's perfect.
So have you not been out on your bike this morning, Eddie?
Yeah, I went out and did a short one this morning, 12 miles. But yeah, all good. The battery got a little bit of a taste up the hill, but the rest was all leg work today, so it's good.
Fantastic. And our main guest today, we're going to have a good chat with our guest today for the next hour. We've also got our Facebook questions coming in, so put them in there. And we've also got our quiz as well, which Eddie will do halfway through. And I'm sure the boys will come in with some stories as well. Our guest today is Russell Osman. Russell, how are you doing down there? How's lock-in for yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. And nice to be with you chaps to have a little chat about everything sporting today. Cool. Everything's pretty good in Bristol. I'm sitting here overlooking one side of Clifton Suspension Bridge, and I believe Chris Wood, who was with you the other week, is just the other side of the suspension bridge.
Fantastic. Let's hope your internet's a bit better than Woody's. I think he had KC Communications as well, did Woody, I think, to be fair, over there. But Russell, thank you for spending the time with us today. We're going to talk a little bit about your career. We're going to talk a little bit about, what you're doing now as well. So I think we start at the very beginning. You got into football quite late. You were into rugby more than football to start with. Tell us a little bit about
that. Well, I went to grammar school. I went to Burton-on-Trent Grammar School, and I'd always played football, but it was like village football. I lived in a village called Repton, and my dad had got a pub there, the Bull's Head. If you're ever in the area, the Bull's Head pub is still fantastic. And played local village football. Went to school, played rugby. It was a rugby school. Got pretty good at that. I got three brothers, all play sort of sport. My older brother, he was captain of England under-15 schoolboys. I sort of followed him the following year. Representing England at under-15s. Then the school leaving age went up to under-16, so I played again the following year, captained England schoolboys that year. And by that time, I'd been seen playing local football by somebody who recommended me to Ipswich. Bobby Robson heard about it, sent a scout along. A scout must have liked what he saw. I think he came to watch me play in a Derby District Cup final, and I was playing for Repton Casuals senior side. we won the final, and I got invited down to Ipswich as a 15-year-old, and that was it, really.
Was that a hard decision then? Because obviously, as you say, you were England captain as well at under-16s. Then obviously Ipswich come on and look at giving you a contract as well. Was it a hard decision to make to change sports as such and go down the football route?
No, you've got to remember this is 1975. There's no money in rugby then. You know, you might have got a few quid in your bit of boot money, so to speak, but it was still more or less an amateur game. I was quite friendly with one or two of the lads that played at Moseley, and they were making a little bit of money, but I got offered the opportunity to go down to Ipswich. First of all, I didn't really know where Ipswich was in those days. I mean, they weren't that well known unless you were, from East Anglia. It was about a 4-hour drive for us to go from Burton-on-Trent down to Ipswich. But it was an opportunity to leave school. My dad was an ex-player. He was at Derby County in the 50s. So he gave his great support. You know, my older brother in particular, my younger brothers, they all played, and there's always my dad and my mum watching the games. And that was it. But I was very fortunate in that I had a youth team coach at Ipswich called Charlie Woods. Now, Charlie Woods was not only the youth team coach, he ended up being Bobby Robson's sort of right-hand man right through to the end. And I spoke to Charlie the other day. He now lives with his wife, Pat, back up in Newcastle. Now, Charlie on a Friday would travel up from Ipswich to Burton-on-Trent to pick me up from home, to drive me back down Friday night so that I could stay at his house on the Friday night so that I could play football Saturday morning for Ipswich Town youth team, and then jump in the car with Charlie again, and Charlie would drive me home. So for Charlie, that was 4 hours one way, 4 hours back on the Friday, and 4 hours back again on the Saturday, just to make sure that I was able to turn up and play a game. And that's the sort of lens that Ipswich went to in those days to make sure that they got the good players that they wanted.
And looking at that he must be the biggest influence then, I would have thought, in your early career of going into Ipswich then, and most likely all the way through your career as well at that time.
Yeah, I was fortunate to play in a good youth team. We won the FA Youth Cup in '75. And it's one of those things, I think I was just fortunate at the time I played that it was in with a good bunch of lads. We got used to winning games of football. Winning breeds confidence. Doing things the right way breeds confidence and breeds a bit more winning. And you get in this culture of winning games of football. And we were a good side. And that developed into the youth team, into the reserve side, into the first team. And the first team in the mid-70s, late 70s, they were good. They were playing very attractive football. They had people like Kevin Beattie, Alan Hunter there already that were sort of stalwarts in those days. But they played some very attractive football for what you would say was only a small town environment, but the football was fantastic.
And looking at that, we ask everybody, every footballer we've had on so far, and we've got a variation of money from like the apprenticeship side of it. You know, do you remember your first wage packet? What was it as an apprentice? Was it, we've had a £32 a week, we've had a £27 a week, and what about yourself? I think McAnally was £110 a week.
Yeah,
he was on or something.
He's a big time Charlie, though, isn't he?
McAnally. Great ball bag, that lad.
So what do you remember from your first pay packet as an apprentice down at Ipswich?
My first pay packet, my wages as an apprentice started at £14 a week.
Wow.
That's the lowest we've had so far.
Tell me about it. Well, that was 1975. So I'm a little bit older than McAnally, I think.
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
it went up to £16 a week, I think, at the start of the second year. But the second year, I then signed my first professional contract. And my first professional contract was for £70 a week.
Oh, well.
Feeling like a millionaire at that point.
Go on, son.
I was a pro. Not on as much as McAnally, but...
Well, McAnally was... I don't know how he got that much, to be fair. Like, I personally was on...
He was on win bonus as well, wasn't he, McAnally?
Yeah, he was on everything, bonus, yeah. Mental.
I remember... I played against McAnally one day at Aston Villa. I've got to tell you this story. And I was playing for Southampton, and my goalkeeper then was John Burridge. Now, John Burridge is an absolute bloody lunatic. A lunatic. Now, I was marking McAnally on the halfway lines in the first half, and the Aston Villa keeper just cleared the ball long behind us. So me and Alan turned to chase the ball back towards the Southampton goal. And as we came out of the centre circle, my goalkeeper, John Burridge, smashed us both up in the air. On the edge of the centre circle.
It doesn't surprise me. I was
poleaxed on the floor. I couldn't breathe. I was gasping. And John Burridge stood over me and said, "Russell, McAnally won't be coming out for the second half." And he just pumped his fist, and that was it. What about me?
Did Budgie have the It's a renowned thing which he had was his pre-match warm-up. Did he have that all the way through his career?
Well, the one where he just used to dive across the room and
that's the one.
On a Friday night in the hotel, he'd usually be in with one of the younger players because nobody else of any seniority would go with him, and he'd just say to him, he'd get like a bit of fruit or something off the table and just say to the young lad, give it to the young lad, say, "Right, we're watching the telly. Any time that you fancy, just throw the fruit across the room." And I was thinking, what for? And he'd do that. And John, and he's got all his kit on. He's got his gloves on, a goalkeeper shirt, his short socks, probably got his pads, boots and gloves on as well. And he just dived across the room. Absolutely.
He did. He was a lunatic. He was actually at Leeds when I was at Leeds. He came up as a goalkeeping coach. He was mental, but what a great guy as well at the same time.
He was on the crossbar.
I think he pulled himself up onto the top of the crossbar and just fired balls at him. I think it was.
Yeah, he sat on the crossbar one day at the Dell down at Southampton. We're attacking Southampton. There's a cross gone in and it's been cleared, and there's a big cheer going up from behind me. I turn around and the goalkeeper's sitting on the middle of the crossbar. I'd only just come to the club and I'm thinking, hold on a minute, what is going on?
Did you not get a bollocking for that?
You don't get a bollocking?
Sorry?
Did he get a bollocking for that?
No, he's just entertaining the crowd. I mean, Malatije was probably on the ball, so there's no problem with him losing it.
Exactly. Yeah. Won it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to your Ipswich days, obviously you had Bobby Robson as your manager down there. How good a manager was Bobby Robson? We had Tony Drieg on the other day when he was his England manager. What was your recollection of Bobby Robson being down there?
Bobby Robson's strength was that he managed to get a good team of players together that fitted well. And for example, in 1978, when Ipswich won the FA Cup, he had a good squad of players, a good strong back four. There was good balance to the side. They were strong at the back as they were in midfield. They were good down the left as they were down the right. And then when he had to change that squad and people like Paul Manor, he was already in there. But we had the Dutch lads, Arnold Muir and Frans Tyson came along as well. Myself, Terry Butcher, took over from Alan Hunt and Kevin Beattie because of injuries. He managed to get a squad of players that fitted ever so neatly together, and he used to liken it to a jigsaw. He said, you've got to get all the pieces fitting well next to the person that they're playing with. So your left back's got to play well with your left side centre half. He's got to play well with the left side midfield player. And he managed to get that balance very well in a number of teams. The 78 Ipswich side, the England side, he managed to produce some great results with it. You know, we won the UEFA Cup in 81. And he kept the game very simple, Bobby did. Didn't complicate it. We didn't go into complicated tactics about how we were going to try and outplay teams off the pitch. Our basics were, we were a very fit side. We could pass the ball extremely well, and our movement off the ball and control of the ball was very good. And those are the things that we worked on day after day after day after day. And it's funny because, you know, just recently the sad death of like Kobe Bryant, and people talking about how much he concentrated on the basics of the game, basketball. Even though we had a team of international players, we religiously practiced passing the ball and controlling, and he did different passing routines that looked pretty complicated, but once you knew what you were doing, they're pretty simple. But we would do that religiously. So our basics were very, very good.
And you talked about the when you won the UEFA Cup. Talk us a little bit about the run through there in '81. You got all the way to the final, and pretty easy apart from Bohemians. I think was everything else was pretty plain sailing all the way through to a certain point with the results as such. What was your recollection of going through to the final and also the final itself?
Well, most of the games worked out pretty well for us. I think Bohemians of Prague, I think that was a game where it was about minus 16 degrees when we played the second leg. So one or two of the games were a little bit touchy like that. But we were pretty consistent. We scored a fair amount of goals in the run there. When we played Cologne, which was the semi-final stage, this is where it started to get interesting. We'd already beaten St Etienne in the quarter-final. And people say, I don't think St Etienne had lost a European Cup tie at home until we beat them there. And we went 1-0 down and beat them 4-1. And they had Platini playing, Larios, Johnny Rep. So they had a very strong side. And people asked us how we managed to dig out that sort of performance. And really, it came to being a strong unit as a side. That season, we played 66 games. We got knocked out of the FA Cup at semi-final stage, runners up in the league, and we won the UEFA Cup. I played all 66 games, luckily enough. And when we played St Etienne, we're in the middle of a busy period over Easter. We played on the Saturday. We played Norwich on the Monday. We had another game on the Wednesday, and it was very hectic. And what we did when we went to St Etienne, the day before the game, we just had a little walk around town, and I think there was about 6 or 7 of us just popped in a little bar, had a few beers, had a nice chill out, and that was how we prepared for the game. People look at you today and think, well, you had a couple of beers before the game the day before. Well, why not? It was a nice way to relax before the match. And, yeah, that's what we did. We beat St Etienne. We beat Cologne over in Cologne. I mean, the Cologne game we played on the Saturday, the Monday, it was the Easter Monday game. We then flew to Germany and played on the Wednesday. So we played Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, came straight back after the Cologne game and played again on the Saturday. So we had 4 games in a week. We weren't doing a lot of training, but again, we'd celebrate, we'd have a couple of beers here and there, and it was a case of just getting on with it.
And you say, 66 games that year. I know Norman Hunter would mention this quite a bit, with us down at Leeds. How many players actually played in them 66 games? What was your squad like at that time? Because I think you look at squads now is obviously huge, and the squads then were a lot smaller. Have you got a recollection of how many players you actually used that season?
I think we ended up using about 26 players. The strength of our squad was really about 16 players. And, we had to make one or two changes as we went through, and it's really what cost us. Aston Villa won the league that season, and they got knocked out of all the cup competitions early. I think they only used 14 players all in all. And I think they had eight players played every match of the season for them. And that was the difference.
Yeah, I think the difference now, obviously, with squads are huge out there, and this rotation. And you look at back in those days, it wasn't about rotation as much; it was about a team and trying to keep that team together as much as possible, I think. And the team, and certainly the team which you had, Gates, Brazil, Mariner, Walk, Butcher, Mills, that all unbelievable players in the time, and all went off and obviously played for the respective countries as well, and obviously yourself in there. Yeah. And going into the England side of it, how. We talked about, the first time you go into England and the England squad. How did you feel going into the England squad? Do you feel that you felt there? Did you feel that you should have played more games for England? Or how did you feel going into the first England squads?
I'd been in the England under-21, been in the international team. So when you get into the full squad, it's quite a steady progression. It's quite an easy progression. You're playing alongside people that you played against, and obviously we had quite a few players from Ipswich in that squad as well. So you're made to feel quite at home. Ron Greenwood was the manager of the senior squad when I first made my debut. And then Bobby Robson took over. I was disappointed that I only got 11 caps at the end of the day. At the time, Bobby Robson was under a little bit of pressure about having so many Ipswich players in the team. You've got Terry Butcher, you've got myself, you've got Paul Mariner, you've got Mick Mills, Brian Talbot, even though he was an Arsenal player by then, he was an ex-Ipswich player. And there was a time when, we didn't qualify for the European Championships. Kevin Keegan, Trevor Brooking were coming to the end of their career. And I think I was made a little bit of a scapegoat a little bit, and I missed out on the World Cup that year, 82 and 86, and that was a disappointing thing, really.
And we've got to talk about the escape to victory. We can't have you on and not talk about escape to victory, can we? How did that come about? When did you first get the inkling that there was a film and you were going to be involved with the people, obviously, who were involved in that?
It all just happened sort of out of the blue, really. Bobby Robson called a meeting one day with the players and said, and I think this was 81 when everything was pretty hectic, pretty busy, and just said, listen, it'd been approached by a film company who have asked if Ipswich could provide some players to do some, as he described it, sort of background footballing shots for this prisoner of war film that was being filmed over in Hungary during the summer. So Bobby said he would okay it. So if we weren't doing anything, anybody that fancied doing it could slide over there and have 6 weeks of helping make this film. I was single at the time. I thought, well, getting paid for another 6 weeks seems like a good idea. So myself, Johnny Walk, Robin Turner, Kevin O'Callaghan, Kevin Beattie, Paul Cooper, we all shot off over there, and Johnny Walk. But then when we got there, you realised that you actually had a character and a role to play in the film. So we're saying, no, sorry, there's a mistake here somewhere down the line because we're just here to do the football. And I said, no, you've actually got dialogue and you've got to go and get your hair cut. My hair was nowadays now. I mean, thank goodness for Tommy Fleetwood in a moment, keeping the mullet alive.
Mullet.
And that was it. You got a script, and they said, right, there you go. Russell, you've got a meeting with, you've got dialogue with Michael Caine first thing in the morning. And that was it, in the deep end. And we had a bit of a disagreement with the producers because we found out that there's a bit of a discrepancy on some of the finances compared to what the other players were being paid. So we had a bit of an issue there, and then you realise the producers were the people that produced Dallas and Dynasty, Lymar Productions, and you thought, crikey, we're a little bit out of our depth here at the moment. But we got a little bit more money, and they did say, do you want royalties or do you want cash? I was speaking on behalf of the lads, so I said, well, a little bit more cash would be nice, and I wish I'd have asked for royalties now.
That's one of my questions in my quiz to you, actually. It's quite surprising. But, one of my favourite films as a kid.
What was it like working with, like, you know, Stallone and Caine, you know, Michael Caine at the time? You know, obviously we know what they've become and things. What were they like at that point? Were they just like normal lads having a bit of a, you know, or were they like, you know, we're separate to you guys?
No, Michael Caine was absolutely magnificent. And I would say everybody else was Tim Pigott-Smith, Max von Sydow, who we sadly lost just recently. All marvellous, wonderful people. They were great, gave us plenty of time and help. Michael Caine was superb. Stallone, different kettle of fish. It wasn't that long after he'd done Rocky 1, Rocky 2, I think. So he was quite a big star.
Yeah.
And if he didn't want to work tomorrow, he would just get on the plane and fly off to Paris or somewhere like that. We were all stuck in Budapest, and we would have to sit there and wait till he decided to come back. So that got up your nose a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
A diva.
A diva.
Yeah, just a bit. Yeah. And
He's
Kevin Beattie had
this.
He's probably watching it.
Yeah, probably.
All right, style.
Kevin Beattie did him in the arm wrestling, though.
Yeah, I don't think
Kevin
Beattie
did him on arm wrestling.
Did he? Brilliant.
I bet he's wanted to get his own back on that one all the way through. Well, you know, we've got to talk about, you know, there's been a thing on Sky this week about, you know, the best players ever. And Jamie Redknapp's come up with one which was in the film, which was Pelé. You know, what was, you know, for us laymen's out there, who personally I think is most likely the best footballer that's most likely ever been. What was he like in the film? What was he like, you know, in around it? You know, is he the guy which we all know?
Well, if you know about him coming out for dinner in the evenings and playing the guitar and having a bottle of Johnny Walker Black Label to himself most nights and still being fresh as a daisy the next day and being able to do all his football tricks in army boots and take the piss out of you, yeah, it was good fun. He was very, very friendly. And literally, we did go out most evenings. Mike Summerby, Bobby Moore, Ozzy Ardiles, the Ipswich lads, Pelé. Pelé's manager would come along, bring his guitar. We'd sit in the restaurant. We'd have a few gin and tonics. Pelé would have his bottle of Johnny Walker on the table, have a sing-song, something to eat, and that's how we spent most evenings. Great.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
6 weeks in Hungary, just on your jollies.
Yeah, that's it. It's fantastic.
Sounds like one of your trips, does that, Lynn, doesn't it?
No golf courses there, Russ. No
golf courses, no. Kick a few Germans, and that was it.
Yeah.
Budapest.
Say again, Lenny.
Yeah.
Were you in Budapest?
Yeah, the Gellert Hotel, Budapest.
Nice city fantastic. As well. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, really good. Great.
And obviously, then you went on to success down at Southampton as well as been at Bristol. But then you went into management as well. You know, what was the transition going into management? You know, like, you know, for yourself. You also caretaker manager a couple of times. You know, we've also mentioned Paul Jewell before, that you were working with him. How was management for you, and how did it kind of just come about, really?
It came about really because I was one of the senior players at Bristol City when they decided to let go of Dennis Smith. He was the manager at the time. We had Andy Cole playing for us at Bristol City at that time. I took over as the manager, and things were going pretty well. We beat Liverpool in the FA Cup fourth round at Anfield. We had a game down at Aston Gate. Floodlights failed. Replay. We drew the replay, and then we beat Liverpool up at Anfield at the third attempt. Neil Ruddock, you had Neil Ruddock on, didn't you? The other day.
Yeah.
You know, I played with Neil for 2 years at Southampton and survived.
I was going to say, Don Matteo actually said that yesterday, didn't he? Took 5 years off him because he knew Razor. So I'm guessing he did that to everybody.
Yeah, he did. Great lad, though. Great lad.
Top boy.
Yeah, sorry, what were we on there?
And looking at the management at Bristol when you had Andy Cole, and you were obviously Coley went to Newcastle, didn't he, at that time?
Yeah. The problem I had, I was employed by one board of directors. They got ousted in a big boardroom takeover battle. New board of directors came in. They wanted their own manager in charge, so they brought in Joe Jordan. I got the boot, and that's it. And it's one of those things with football management. You know you're going to get the sack sooner or later, so you know you just have to get used to that. Problem is then getting another job, and it ain't that easy, you know, and it never has been. So I was lucky enough to be able to go back playing again. I played down in Brighton for a bit, Liam Brady, Cardiff for a little bit with Phil Neal, and ended up managing at Cardiff as well for a short while. And then I got into a bit of television work with Sky. ITV Digital started, and then that went belly up for a bit. And I've worked for Eurosport television for the best part of 20 years. And now I do the Indian football with Star Sports. So I've been going 6 or 7 years. I've been going out to India for about 15.
Oh, wow. What's it like out there in India? Because obviously I actually did a chat with John Helm not too long back, and he was talking about the Indian Premier League and how big it actually is. You know, what's your thought of the Indian Premier League?
Well, it is big. I mean, everything about India is big. It's a massive country. There's a massive population, over 1 billion. So when you're talking about viewing figures of 30 million people, watching a game of football on the television there, you think, well, it's crazy, but it's still just a small percentage, especially compared to the cricket and the IPL. How it's been going over the years since the ISL first started 6 years ago. They started off with marquee players, people like Del Piero, David Trezeguet. They went out there and they encouraged one or two foreign players to go out at the same time. And bit by bit, they've reduced the amount of foreign players playing in India and increased the number of Indian players that you have to have on the pitch at all times, which is good. And that's helping the Indian national team improve. They've still got a long way to go, but the league is getting bigger, it's getting better, it's getting more organised. The Indian players are getting better. It's very competitive. It's hard work for the players because, you know, the season has to be quite condensed to get in between all the cricket fixtures and, again, the IPL. So it's a 10-team league at the moment. They might increase it to 12 next year. They have AFC Champions League spots now available for winners of the league and winners of the playoffs. And it's good. It's very good, and it's getting bigger, better, and stronger all the time. John,
and do you get much time?
Sorry.
I was just about to say, you know, do you get much time? I know you're a big golfer. Do you get much time to play golf out there as well?
Well, I play with John Helm whenever John's out there. You know, we've been going out to India together for, I think, the first time was about 16 years ago. So John and myself we played in Calcutta, we played in Delhi, we played in Madras, which is Chennai now. We played in Madras race course, which is an interesting one. We played in Mumbai just recently back in March. The Willingdon was the last course we ventured to. One of the older courses in Delhi we played in Calcutta. So yeah, we get about and try and have a game whenever we can out there.
Are you spending as much time as you have there? Do you find yourself still strapped to the porcelain? Or have you got used to it?
I think, believe it or not, Dave, I think you get used to it.
Yeah.
No, do you know, the few times I've been over and played there, I remember going on a Pizza Hut diet, basically, just for a week solid. We rented an apartment there one year, and we had a little gupta who was there to cook for us, and we never used him once. We just Pizza Hut. So we just risk it.
They're great people, though. When I played on the Asian tour, I played there probably 7 or 8 times, and I went the opposite of what Lynn just said. I went local, so I had Indian breakfast, lunch, evening, had no salad, had rice, had the local food there, and I absolutely loved it. But there's a huge divide, I'm sure you've seen it over there, where you've got the kind of, there's no real middle class there, is there? You've got your upper class and you've got your poor people. I know they try to work on it, I read now.
Yeah, over there, the rich are very rich and the poor haven't got anything. So there's the problem with the class system. But we're fortunate we stay in very nice hotels here. We stay either in the Oberoi, the Trident, Taj Mahal Palace, So when you're stuck there for the space of, 4.5 months or 4 months this year, it's, you can eat quite well. We go around. Mumbai's like London. There's very good restaurants there, so it's just a case of finding out where they are and doing your homework a little bit. But it's a fascinating place, and you still don't quite know what to make of it. And whenever you go there for the first time, you can see the shock and horror on people's face. They just don't quite understand how it works, but it's they're lovely people out there, and and I really enjoyed going out there.
I once got Paul Broadhurst into a tut-tut. We were going out for dinner one night, and it took me so much to get him into this thing. And on the way back, he wouldn't get in it. So we had to get a taxi back. And the following day, going to the golf course, I kid you not, there was one of these tut-tuts, and it was flat where this lorry had ran over it. Brody's just going, see, I told you, there's no way I'm ever getting in one of those things again.
Brilliant.
But you could get in a tuk-tuk for a 20-minute ride, and it costs you less than £1.
I know.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
I thought Brody would have liked it because of that.
No.
No.
I drove there when I was there. But I just said to my taxi driver from the hotel to the golf course. I think we were playing Royal Delhi Golf Club or something like that. And I said to him, the lads, there were 2 other golfers in the back. I said, mate, I'll pay you double if you let me drive. He went, yeah, no problem. So I drove about 3 miles. Honestly, just lads were taking pictures. It was just brilliant because you've got cows as you went there's sacred there, and there's cows in the middle of the road, and you're going. He goes, go up this street. I said, no, that's one way. He went, don't worry, it's one way. He'll cut this corner. And I went, drove. I was like pulled up. And I'm like, you're mental.
Yeah, no highway code.
Yeah, exactly.
No highway code or anything. Just do what you want to do. Great,
fantastic.
Great.
Russell, thank you very much. We're going to pass you over to Hurd, who has he does a quiz for everybody, all our guests. We've got a kind of a leaderboard. Unfortunately, Darren Goff's at the top, and we want to get Goffy off the top. So the pressure's on. No pressure whatsoever. Hurd, over to you.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So this is a bit about where you live in Bristol. So it should be pretty simple for you, mate. But what 2 rivers are Bristol sitting on? Or run through it. The 2 rivers. This is not a good start. Quiet there, big man.
It's not. Well, the Avon.
Yeah, Avon and the. I'll give you a clue. He's a cyclist, his second name.
I don't look like he's given him a clue there, Eddie.
No. A British cyclist, an English cyclist who's won the Tour de France, I'm sure has. I might be wrong here, but unless I've got this wrong. Begins with F.
River Froome.
Yay! Come on, son. I'm going to give you that one. Well done. Bristol was voted by the Guardian newspaper as being in the top 10 happiest places to work. True or false?
True.
True is correct. Name the most capped English footballer coming from Bristol. Oh.
The most capped English footballer coming from Bristol. Gary Mabbott.
Go on, son. Hold it right out of the bag. Gary Mabbott is correct. Long Ashton, as you know the area, design what well-known kids' drink? I'm going to give you options.
Yeah.
Vimto, Capri Sun, or Ribena?
Capri Sun.
Ribena.
Really?
Yeah, you have to look that one up. I read
say that again.
Yeah.
Should have asked him
right.
questions on India.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Should have done, yeah.
Hold on, I got 3 out of 4, mate.
You got 3 out of 4. That's all right. We're still going. Escape to Victory was made in what year?
In what year? 81. Well,
81. 81's correct. Style Stallone. I'm going to ask you a few more now. And I might ask Lynn one, actually, but we'll see. Style Stallone was called what in the film? Lynn, see if you know first.
Don't know.
Don't know. I knew it. Do you know it, cuz? Don't say it if you do. No.
Me. Hatch.
Go on. Hatch, correct. Hatch is correct, yeah. Last question. The budget for, which sounds like you didn't get a lot of, Russ, but you got some of it. The budget was for 10 million. Right. How much did the box office take? 10 million, whatever. I don't know what you say. I'm guessing actually dollars when it says. But what did the box office take? I'll give you within 3 million if you get it right. The box office. So budget was 10. What did the box office take worldwide?
Now you're really rubbing it in now, Erdy, when he could have taken some royalties. Come on.
I wasn't even going to ask him this. I just had it written down.
Hey, when they offer up a royalty,
I'll go back to Ribena.
Is it a percentage of it then? Did they ever offer you a percentage?
So you're talking about the global taking.
The global sales for the event, worldwide. So it was 10 million. Have a stab in the dark.
Over what period of time is this?
I don't know. I'm guessing when it stopped. I'll give you a clue. It's between 20 and 35 million.
I was going to say 27.
27 and a half. Great guess. Unbelievable. Going back to what Lenny just said, when they offered you a rolling scheme of paying you like that, how does that work? How did rather than getting paid like, I'm sure you just took the cash at the time because you're thinking this film won't be as big as it was, I'm guessing.
More of an issue for us was like, you'd have to get legal people involved with it and stuff like that. So I wasn't quite sure how it worked. You can imagine in those days, as we were just saying, 6 weeks, if we can get a bit more cash, that'll do us for the summer, and on we go. And I don't think many of the players took royalties at all.
No.
Maybe some people like Michael Caine might have taken royalties or whatever, but But then you've got to know what you're doing. No, not at all. I had an absolutely fantastic time. But we never signed a contract.
Yeah.
We didn't sign a contract with anybody. So when it came to renegotiating about money, it was a case of, if we can't come to some agreement, we'll go home. And I said, well, you can't. We've already started making the film. I said, well, yeah, but we haven't signed a contract or anything. So it was, an interesting setup, to say the least.
It's just like when I'm talking to you now, it's like you were an England international, you're a fantastic footballer. And when I speak to people, I'll say, I've got Russell Osman. Oh, yeah, he played England, but wasn't he in Escape to Victory? I'm like, yeah, he was.
That's it. I mean, I
take it away.
I look back, I've done quite a few strange things. I did Escape to Victory. I've done Land's End, John O'Groat cycling. I've done Wembley down to La Manga cycling with Dorigo and Alan McAnally.
Yeah.
Been out in India quite a bit. So I just did a mentoring course with the LMA the other day, which some of the players might need now, but it's an LMA mentoring course for the technical staff, managers and coaches, which is interesting. It'd be interesting to see whether football actually gets going again this year, won't it?
Yeah, what's your thought on that one? Yeah. What is your thought on how we can finish this season?
If you can get it done behind closed doors, I think that's the only possible way. I can't really see it happening. You're going to need 300 odd people to be able to get the game played. Players, staff, media. I think that was the sort of figures they were talking about. And if they're talking about neutral venues, then that's going to favour some teams. I think the players might kick off a little bit about being asked to play at the moment until there's a vaccine available. They don't want to take any issues back to the families and the loved ones. I think Julian Lescott was on the news this morning saying stuff like that. So you can understand that point of view. So it's very, very difficult. It might just be a case of, just sit it out and sit it through. Because if it goes back and we get a second spike on this, then it's going to be, even more damaging than probably the first wave. So for the sake of just making sure that we get it right first time. But what do I know? I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of it. But, you just think you've got to be a little bit careful and respect it for the damage it's been doing.
Well, there's a few places, haven't they, done, like I know France have done it where you've, on an average kind of thing, and they've obviously got the winners, but nobody's gone down, and then people have come up. It's all the way down. I think the maybe problem we had in this country to a certain point was that the non-league actually cancelled their season pretty much within 3 weeks. It's a follow-on down. I think all the money's invested into this season so far. Let's wait however long we have to wait to get this season finished, and then we think about next season when that comes about, which might be in January next year.
Well, the teams at the bottom of the Premier League are not going to want to be relegated this year. So they're saying let's call it off. Let's start again afresh when we can next year. Let's just scrub this season. Yeah, there's teams in the Championship. They're looking like they want to go up. Leeds United has been fantastic this season so far. It's probably their best chance of going up that they've had in a long time. And that might be scuppered, so...
Don't be laughing, Linny. Don't be laughing.
They're all laughing at us, Hurdy, what's going on? It'd be just that look that we don't go up. That's the whole point.
If you'd only just started the season, then fair enough, but you're too far through it, aren't you? So
you can't keep everyone happy, Linny. That's the problem, isn't it? You know what I mean?
You have to look at reason, and your reason would be we're over halfway, so it's only right that we carry on.
And I think with Liverpool where they are in the league as well at this present moment in time, that far ahead, if it would have been interesting if they'd already won the league of what would have happened. I think, But anyhow, it's a decision which has got to be made higher up. We can all put our opinions. AJ down there in the corner, he's got some questions for you, Russell. So AJ's got some in you come, mate, from the Facebook and Twitter and things.
Morning, Russell. Well, afternoon.
Morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
I'm good, thank you.
Right, good. Russell, listen, we get quite a few questions coming in on social media. Alan Briddle asks, when Ipswich lost out to Villa in the 80-81 season, in your opinion, what was the difference between being the champions and the runners-up?
Why do you have to start with that question?
Okay. Sorry, mate.
Okay, Villa. Oh, dear. It was very disappointing for us that season because we beat Villa twice in the league. We knocked them out in one of the cup competitions. So, you know, as far as we're concerned, we were the better side that season. We ended up losing the FA Cup semi-final at Villa Park to Manchester City. So Villa Park didn't really do us many favours that year. So Aston Villa went into Europe, and did they win the UEFA Cup the following year or the European Cup the following year? So, you know, they did very well. We were unfortunate that we ended up playing probably about 20 more games than they did that season. And that's what really was the difference.
I think you touched on that earlier on, didn't you? I think when you said, Villa maybe used 14 players.
14 players, 8 played every game of the season. You know, we used, I think, 26. I played every game, which was 66. I played four international games that year as well, so I played 70. I played 70 games, and from the date of the first game to the date of the last game, meant that I played a game of football every 4.6 days that year.
Incredible.
Is that the most of any player in the league that year, Russ?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. You know, I think you can look back at Liverpool over the years saying that, you know, they would be round about 60, 62, 63 sometimes. But like I said, we had a good run in the FA Cup, League Cup and the European competition. So,
To be fair, AJ, Russ has looked after his body like Razor, hasn't he? Same sort of lifestyle. When you pull that orange out, he's pulling out an orange cherry.
I have to have his Budweiser fridge. His Budweiser fridge needs stocking up, so I'll have to send it some supplies.
I know. I saw that little plug yesterday on his Instagram. That was quite funny. That.
Yeah, it is a funny
actually, talking of Razor, everybody always asks, these things are brilliant because you get to delve into somebody's living room or in some of the people's where they're sitting from. It's in their office or in their memorabilia room. As you look at your place there, Russell, there isn't much memorabilia on the wall. But Claire asks, what is your favourite piece of memorabilia?
Good question. Let me see if I can get one. Excuse me.
Oh, here we go. This is very
Here we go.
This is where it all goes. He's got his golf club.
He's passed his putter just before he came in. That's what it was.
I'm sort of thinking that as they're all driving over the bridge in Bristol, they can all see what time it is looking into your place.
It's still working as well.
Well, what have we got here, Russell?
You see that?
Talk. Russell, if you talk, Russell, you'll get this full views.
Everyone will get a few view of you. So tell us a bit about it.
That is myself and Pelé, escaped to victory, and it's signed to Russell from your friend Edson Pelé.
Wow,
brilliant.
How was Edson? How old was Pelé then, Russ, when you did it? I think you were only 21, weren't you? 22,
22, so I don't know, how old is he now?
So you've got the little Diglett tash on there as well.
Yeah, from wide
that's a great piece of memorabilia. Sam says, talking of the movie,
that's just in the toilet.
That's in the toilet.
So he says, Sam says, what's your favourite scene from Escape to Victory?
I still find it quite funny when Hatch is still asking where he stands at corners. And nobody else. Typical American.
He wouldn't even acting. He wouldn't have understood soccer then, would he? Or football, as we call it. He wouldn't have had a clue, would he?
Well, that's one of the questions, actually, I think. So, someone said, how bad was Stallone at football?
It was crap.
One of the, I have to say, I saw a great YouTube clip last night of when you were all having, I think your manager, Michael Caine, was giving you some instructions, and Pelé jumps off the bunk bed and runs up to the chalkboard and says, no, boss, I will run through the field like this and score. It was brilliant.
I do this and this and this and this.
Was all that completely scripted, or did anybody jump in with any sort of one-liners or ad-libbing, I guess, within the movie, or was it completely scripted?
No, I think that there's a fair bit of leeway just to throw in a few comments here and there and ad-lib a little bit. And the beauty is they could do so many takes that you could ad-lib differently half a dozen times, and then they use whatever fitted well. We could see the rushes and everything back at the hotel that evening anyway. So, cool. It's just good fun.
I've just got one really last short question, Russell. John says, and it's an interesting one. I don't know if lads know this, but in the Indian football, are the clubs owned by Indian businessmen or are they owned by overseas investors or owners?
Mainly Indian companies, Indian investors. There's some very wealthy individuals out there. What they did do right at the start, they tried to get people like Sachin Tendulkar involved.
Do you know who he is?
Lent his name and he's not bad, is he? Virat Kohli is involved with one of the clubs now.
Is he? Right.
And one or two of the Bollywood boys have been involved as well. John Abraham is the owner of North East United up in the far northeast, North East United. And what they hoped there was that the Bollywood stars and the cricket stars would bring a lot of their followers in to support the clubs as well. Even though they might not come to the games live, they would follow them on the television and online and through social media, which is massive out there.
Fantastic. We have two other questions. We have two other questions as well, Russell, which we always ask everybody who comes on. One is, who would get you into the most trouble on a night out?
Myself.
Good answer. We like that answer. And also, on top of there,
Terry Butcher.
Terry Butcher. Oh, right, okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
In fact, I got told a story about Terry Butcher. I think you were out on pre-season tour somewhere, and you took some kids with them. Alan, I know Alan's watching this, and there were some kids who won a prize, and they went out and they followed you, and they were with the team and everything else. And Butcher was on the beach, and he just says, "Oh, have a beer." He was 14-year-old, 15-year-old. He says, "Well, yeah, it's sunny. What else are we going to do?" So yeah, I can imagine him being a bit of a character. And the other one, which we always ask, is what 4-ball would you have? I know you're into your golf.
Oh, gosh, what 4-ball?
Anyone, don't have to be a golfer.
Don't have to be a golfer.
No, anyone. Anyone you respect.
Dead or alive
as
well.
Alive, yeah.
Ultimate 4-ball. God, you're sport for choice here, aren't you?
Yeah.
I would love to have had another game of golf with my dad, but sadly he's gone. I think more than anything, just my family, my brothers and my sons. I mean, I've got 3 boys myself, so that would always be a good football. I've got 3 brothers, so I've a football with them, and I've got a sister, so she would have to
I can imagine the night out after, if you're the one who gets everybody into trouble, will be a good night as well after that one.
I've calmed down a lot now. I'm 61 now, so I've got to behave.
Because one of my pals is an Ipswich fan, and I wanted to ask a question. He said, is your Indian accent as good as Steve McLaren's Dutch accent when you're on TV over there?
Hoity. No. You got to have the shake of the head, though, haven't you?
Yes, the head of it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No. That means no. Yes? No, it means yes.
That means no. That means yes. No.
Fantastic, Russell. Thank you. All I can say is thank you for spending an hour with us. You know, we thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm sure everybody out there has enjoyed it as well. I wonder what he was doing then. He's got a DB belt. He's got the best belt. He's got the best belts in the business. He's got, a little bit of. I'm sure there'll be one coming your way now again.
Yeah,
I'm quite liking the the gilet he's got on. Actually, to be fair, I thought we might all get one of them. But it's one of these things.
A bit king. Yeah.
But Russell, thank you very much for your time. Great stories as always. Thanks for everybody who's behind the scenes, as I say, Simply Video, who are looking after our streaming side of things, and all the guys back there. Obviously, our sponsor, which is obviously me, which is Revive, which is in Leeds. Hopefully, we'll be back up and very soon. We've got to mainly thank Muffy, which is, for the Sergio Garcia flag. Again, we can't stress it enough. £10 per ticket. Every proceeds is going to go to the NHS. It will be drawn on Friday. We have got a cricketing legend on Friday who's going to help us with that one as well. We're aiming to raise as much money as we possibly can. So, dig deep. I know everybody's doing it at the minute. But if you can just spare a £10 on there, then that'd be great. Also, don't forget to like and share our page as well, which will get you some notifications for when we are on. And we've got some great guests coming up. We've got Lee Dixon tomorrow, and we've got Jermaine Beckford coming on Thursday. So a bit of a football theme this week, but I'm sure there's some great stories there. So thanks for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Cheers, boys. Thank you.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers. Thank you, everybody.
Regards to Woody. Say hello to Woody.